Welcome to the Florida Keys Sportsman. I'm your host, Craig Eubank. Today we're at beautiful Oceanside Marina in Key West, Florida. We're going to do some tarpon fishing with Captain Kenny Harris on board the charter boat Finesse. We'll meet the captain right after this.
How you doing, man? Welcome on board the Finesse. Let me just go over the 3 rules with you here, Craig, when we first get in the boat. Rule 1, don't hang onto my T-top or grab it. You can touch it with the top of your head, and that's about it.
Might be a problem.
Yeah,
okay.
Well, you being so tall and all. And then number 2 is do not put your hands on the windshield because sunscreen never comes off of this.
Okay.
And third, and most important, Craig, make me look good.
It's not a problem.
I'm not so sure. Rule number 3 might be a problem. 1 and 2 I think we can handle. So you want to go catch some tarpon?
Sounds good to me.
All right, let's go.
Let's go for it.
Craig, go ahead and give us a little push. Right? What we like to do here, Craig, is get out near the end of the line. I make this rig for a quick release. We just take a wrap and once over because sometimes we have to chase these fish. They're big enough, you know. If they're not big enough, well, we'll make you fight them from a dead boat.
That makes it a lot harder, though, huh?
Yeah, well, it also makes it harder on the tarpon. He has to fight a little tougher against the drag if you do it that way.
More sporting.
Yep, we put the buoy on here. When we have to chase them, we just throw off the buoy, go get our fish, come right back to where we were already hooking fish, so we're in our spot.
Nobody steals your buoy?
No.
Oh, okay.
There's too many of them in here. They could care less.
Now, Kenny, some of these tarpon, they get huge. They're 100 pounds or more, right?
Oh, yeah. The Key West Harbor record that I know about is 243 pounds.
243
Yeah, that was a big boy. That caught many, many years ago. Bob West, I think, was the captain on that one, probably in the 70s anyway. The all-tackle IGFA record is 283 pounds. Certainly a wonderful fish, but many bigger have been taken, but usually by nets in remote places like Africa.
Now, you said IGFA, which is
International Game Fish
Association, and
right.
You're a member of this?
Well, yes, I'm a member, but mostly
also,
I'm interested in entering records.
Well, and also you don't like to toot your own horn, but you hold a few of these records. So what, 100, 150 records you've got?
No, it's more like closer to 50.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Closer to 50.
Now, do you go out and you set out to set records, or?
It happens both ways, but most records are premeditated. By that I mean I have a certain angler who we're really just going out and looking for that fish. I have 4 or 5 world-class anglers that we do it with, but I have set world records with complete novices. It's just a matter of teaching. Yeah.
That day. Well, I'm pretty excited about catching a tarpon. Maybe it'll be a world record, and we're going to take a real short break. We're fishing with Captain Kenny Harris on the Finesse in Key West. Florida Key Sportsman. We'll be right back. Don't go away.
Just that way.
Oh, Kenny, I got a question for you. This kind of bait does not look like the average thing that you would find at any bait store or any cooler at a 7-Eleven. Where the hell do you get this?
Well, what we do is we go out, we meet up with a shrimp boat out usually in the Gulf of Mexico, and after they've culled out their catch of shrimp, we go ahead and, well, maybe we'll give them some 6-packs of sodas or whatever they'd like, and trade them a couple of baskets for a couple of 6-packs of soda. Now, in tarpon fishing, this is the have or have not. If you don't have this chum, yes, you can go and tarpon fish and you might hook a tarpon or two in the day. This is the difference between hooking many fish and just a few fish.
Yeah.
So
it's all on the bait. You're saying.
Absolutely. Okay. Absolutely. It's a good situation here in Key West because we have so many shrimpers working in the Gulf. And it's nice that we can do something with the bycatch,
yeah,
you know.
That's true.
Okay, Craig, while I'm rigging, what I generally do is we'll put a little glop in, sort of our way of saying hello. You know what I mean?
Inviting them over.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And what we do is we chum fairly heavy in the early going to establish a bite. And then as the fish are back there, we slow it down a little bit and make them anxious to eat. Okay. So what we'll be doing now is rigging up some rods, and then periodically, I might even have you dump in some chum.
Oh boy, so I get my hands dirty.
Yeah, working charter.
Now you had mentioned, you keep saying the word bite. That means catching fish.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, in my case, catching.
What's it? You said bite, and it scared me a little bit. We don't know each other that well. So.
Right. In my case, catching. In your case, we're going to see what happens here. What we traditionally use, these are what would be called bait or plug casting outfits. Okay, now I'll get into the use of them in a minute after I rig them, but right now I'll show you how we're going to rig these up. There's a lot of boat traffic in Key West Harbor.
Yeah, that guy almost knocked us over.
But the funny thing about tarpon, we'll get hit by this wake here for a minute.
Boy.
The funny thing about tarpon is, of all the fish, I find them to be the least affected by boat traffic, wherever you are. You know, tarpon swim from freshwater to saltwater.
Oh,
they're very used to, I say used to people. You know, they're used to being even gawked at off of docks. You know, you'll see them at night in lights, behind the raw bar, everywhere.
Yeah.
We call them city-fied tarpon until they're hooked, and then they won't seem real city-fied. They'll seem pretty wild.
Smarter, so we don't have to worry about being quiet like bass fishing.
No, you don't. You don't want to make unusual noises like stomping on the deck after you lose one, because that might...
Of course I would. I would never do that.
Right. Well, right now I'm going with 50-pound test leader. Later on in the season I might go 60 when they're biting even more red hot. Right now what we're looking for is a bite. What I'm doing here is stretching the leader. I like everything to lay as flat as I can get it to lay. Okay? Nice and stretched out. An average length leader, there are rules in fishing if you want to go by them, if you were considering catching a world record or something. Right. But on average here, I fish about anywhere from a 6 to 8 foot piece of line.
Is the idea that in case the fish gets wrapped up in it, or?
No, the idea, well, yes, partially. Partially that. Plus, when you get the fish close to the boat and you're trying to get him under control, you have to have something to grab besides the standing 15.
I see.
Because we release these fish.
Test on these.
Yes, it is.
Now, if we're talking about tarpon, which could be 100 pounds or more, why aren't we using 50-pound test line, and such as we'd use, I guess, offshore for bigger fish?
Well, these are bigger fish. Until you get to the marlins, this is one of the biggest fish that swim down here. On average, it is the biggest fish that swims down here, except for marlin and sharks. Because it is light tackle angling. Even offshore, I'd say most of the time people are fishing overkill. Whereas instead of we're doing something exceptionally light, I consider what they do offshore to be exceptionally heavy. Okay, for the species. And that's because most of the time it's a trolling situation and they're pulling away from the fish, so they can't really do that with 15-pound tests. The pressure would be too great. And that's one of the main reasons. The other reason is you'll find as we're fishing along, these outfits are one-handed. You fish them much better in a one-handed situation. It's a much quicker to get in gear, to set in, all that. You'll catch on to what I'm talking about much more once we actually start fishing, how important it is to set in quickly. And I'll explain that once we get the bait on.
All right.
This next knot we're tying here is what I like to use, which is just a blood knot. Okay, now you have your leader attached to your double line. Now we've had moderate tides this week, Craig, so with moderate tides, we'll be starting off with what I call free floating, which means just a hook on the end of this
Moderate means there's not a lot of current.
Right. On full moons and so forth, you would get a lot faster running current. I prefer fast running water. For me personally, it's very easy to hook up in fast running water. For the average beginning tarpon angler that I get down here, it's not so easy. The moderate tides are much easier for them to hook their own fish. So you got a win-win situation, really. Very fast running water, I'm going to hook a lot, people get to fight a lot. smooth running water, they're going to get to hook their own. So in the course of a day, they're kind of building up to fishing in the faster water by learning in the slower running tides.
We'll be back with more tarpon fishing on the Florida Keys Sportsman. Don't go anywhere.
Fresh frozen. That's an oxymoron, isn't it? Wait.
Ooh, now that's a good one. Look at that. That'll work. Okay.
Just don't hook them up too deeply.
Kevin, you got a flair for that. Oh, you're good, you're good. The cowfish, you don't use those.
Now, the worst thing you can do is hold this bait up. By that I mean, if you're inattentive, you know, that's probably the big difference between this style of fishing and trolling. If you're inattentive, by that I mean if you're just kind of looking around at the scenery and you're not really watching what's going on, you're not going to do that well. You do as well as you work at this. It's something that you've really got to make yourself get in the habit of. Good style, because as soon as you hold up this line, that bait begins to twist and spin.
I see.
Unattractive presentation, okay? But as long as you're free dropping it, that's when you'll start getting the bites. Now let's talk about that. When a tarpon eats this bait, he swims up, he flares his gills, he opens his mouth, he sucks the bait in.
Okay.
As soon as he recognizes there's a hook, jig, whatever, he spits it. So they eat the whole bait and they spit the whole bait. They never rip a bait in half. So that's how you know it was a tarpon bite, when you get the whole bait back if you've missed one. Now, ideally, by having it in your left hand, the next big error that I see always in fishing is the way people set in. I can teach anyone to fight a fish really very easily. I cannot teach everyone how to hook a fish as easily. I have years of, there it is. If you look out this way, you'll see him jump.
There he is. Excellent. Look at that. Look at that. Beautiful.
Almost like stealing, isn't it?
Beautiful. That was a pretty good.
Anyway, that's the
demonstration.
example of reeling down and setting in
I see.
on this fish.
Well, that was excellent.
Why don't you fight this one, Craig? I don't need to fight another one, and I'll see how you do. Go up.
Just keeping pressure on him, Kenny?
Yes, what I'd like you to do, Craig, and you're not right now, is lift. Lift the rod. Continue to lift. Oh, did somebody say drop and wind? I missed that.
No,
lift.
no, I'm sorry.
Lift. Continue your lift.
Okay.
Continue your lift. You have to force this issue.
Okay.
Okay?
Leave
Now,
it.
drop and wind. And that is drop and wind, not drop and whine. Like, oh, he's so tough.
or bump and grind, I guess.
Yeah,
I'm
something like
lifting, I'm lifting.
And then drop and wind. There you go. Now, what you try to do is the lift is slow and deliberate. The dropping and winding is fast and frantic, okay? Now, he's going to go over our anchor line. I'm not going to chase this fish till he makes a determination which way he's really going to run. As you see, there's a lot of other boats around us tarpon fishing. I may have to end out chasing him, I don't know.
So did we just luck out that he didn't get in the anchor line?
Well, I prefer to think I actually knew what he was going to do. Craig, you lucked out that he didn't get in the anchor line.
He didn't get in the anchor line. I'm sure I would have had to got in the water and go swim it out.
Hey, listen. Nice fish. Do not go around. Don't let the fish beat you to either side, okay?
I see.
That's the rule of thumb. Trying to do it so that it really discourages them. Here comes the leader.
Yeah. Now he's cutting back to the right.
You're
so
fine.
Pulling to the left.
Now what you do is help me.
Oh, beautiful.
Pull the leader towards me, so I at least get to say you caught one. Right here. Oh. Food value. You don't do skin mounts anymore. It's all replica. There is no reason to kill a tarpon, okay? Other than world records. World records are world records. You don't get them unless you weigh them. But the records are so large that you're talking about very few fish.
Also now, in order to keep one, you have to have
a permit. Yes, a permit.
Yeah, a permit.
And you know,
which is not a fish in this case.
In the beginning, I didn't really like that idea, Craig, but I love it now. Why shouldn't the sailfish, the barracuda, even amberjacks, permit, not fish that are, now amberjacks and permit, while they are edible, are certainly not great table fare. Yes. They're not sold in restaurants or anything. So all of those fish, if you want to kill one, hey, there's nothing wrong Nothing wrong with it if it's a world record or something like that. But in this day and age, you just don't see any of the guides here in Key West owning those permits and killing this fish. I haven't seen a dead tarpon in 4 or 5 years in Key West.
Now these live, you said now tarpon live for years, dozens of years.
Oh, tarpon can, I know of tarpon kept in Key West Aquarium that were 30 years old.
30 years old, and that's...
But it stunted their growth.
Well, yeah, they don't get fed as much shrimp trash.
Well, they only grow because of the size of the container they're in.
Oh, I see.
I don't really know what a 100-pound tarpon, how old it would be, but I would venture to guess 10 years. Okay, that's an official catch there. What we'll do here, Craig, is once I get the leader, you'll walk with me towards the back here, okay?
Okay.
We'll try and lay this puppy up. Don't reel anymore. Leave me more leader than that to work with.
I see.
You're fine. Again.
Okay.
It's all right. Lift a little. You can go right over to me. Bring me the leader. There you go. I don't like to jump out of the boat to get the leader. All right.
Is he going away again?
Well, we don't know.
We're not
You
sure.
never know what happens when you're leadering. He could come off at any moment, Craig. So we get as many shots of this, shots at him as I can get. Now, he's kind of hooked in a weird spot, so it's making it a little tough.
Okay.
You know, we hook so many, I'm definitely going to get different shots like this, where you can just pick them up. Okay, I try to treat him real gentle, never grab him in the red part of the gills. This fish is heavier than I thought. He's 75.
75,
anyway.
at least.
Yeah.
At least.
Very nice fish.
He's done quite a job on the leader.
Yes.
But he's not actually hooked at the top.
Hey, he breathed on it and I set it, pal. You know what I mean?
You're good. You're
That's
good.
right. If they breathe on it, you should set it. Now feel the roof of his mouth. That's why you must reel down and get a good set in. That's why so many of them are lost. See, he is hooked in the mouth. It's up here.
Oh, I see.
Let me show you the tarpon handshake for your first one. We straighten out that hand, and it's just,
Slap.
yeah.
Excellent.
Nice job,
This-
Craig. You
this is
betcha.
the
Way to go.
universal. We'll be back with more tarpon fishing action on the Florida Keys Sportsman with Kenny Harris on the Finesse, Key West, Florida. Don't go away. Again?
Yeah, well, Craig, as I was trying to explain to you before we were so rudely interrupted
I know,
there
I
by that
looked at the
fish.
I guess I have lousy technique. And I was being critiqued at a critical moment, too.
But the very key point to this and why I got that bite so quick was how well I was dropping. Now, during the course of that fight, the current is picked up, and it's just perfect right now. I mean, I don't want to put any pressure on it, but a guy'd be a fool not to hook a tarpon right now the way it's running.
All right, the pressure's on. I think the thing I just realized on the run over here, or before we hooked the fish, was just how close we are to Key West. We didn't have to go offshore.
Oh, that's
20 miles out. And I guess if we really wanted to for lunch, we could head into a restaurant and get a bite to eat.
And in fact, I think we will.
In fact, we will be going into a restaurant, get something to eat, and then come back out and catch another dozen or so tarpon.
Well, in this business, that's just wonderful, Craig, because so many people have had bad experiences offshore where they get seasick, and they know it's really not for them. Moms, kids, whatever. You get to come into Key West Harbor where it's flat calm. Yes, there are a lot of boats, a lot of people tarpon fishing, but there are many tarpon. Everybody gets their shots. It's just a wonderful situation. No one gets seasick. The ladies get to hit the raw bar and use a restroom.
You get to go to the bathroom.
Oh, man, they love that part.
And you maximize your fishing time. We were fishing within, what, 20 minutes of leaving the dock.
Yes.
So it's not an all-day trip where 4 hours is spent running back and forth.
Exactly.
Not that there's anything wrong with the ride.
No, well,
but,
I have many customers who, you know, really insist on running to Gulf wrecks and long runs, and we do all that. But there is no doubt that for many, many people, this is some of the finest not only quality fishing, but just the whole situation of calm water, restaurants. It's civilized until you hook the fish.
Very civilized fishing, and then it's all out war.
All right, Craig, let it continue. Yes, yes. Watch back here.
Watch back. There
Oh,
you go.
no! Oh, I just had one. Oh, man, gives me the work.
I see. As long as we make you look good, make it easy on you,
That's
we're
right.
having a good day.
Before you can be good,
You gotta look
there you
good.
go.
Another outstanding day here today, tarpon fishing in the Key West Harbor with Captain Kenny Harris aboard the Finesse. For the Florida Keys Sportsman, I'm your host, Craig Eubank. We'll see you next time. Remember, if it's gonna happen, it's gonna happen out
Out there.
There.
Thanks,
Kid.
Craig. I really enjoyed it. We'll get you next time, okay?
All right.